Hey everybody, what's up and welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Liz. And today we're going to be discussing the death of Beth Doe, or as she was identified as Evelyn Cologne. So on December 20th of 1976, there were 3 suitcases that were found in Whitehaven, Pennsylvania. It was determined that the suitcases were thrown off the bridge over the Lehigh River along the I-80. Now, it was believed that the killer was traveling west and that the intention was the suitcases land in the water below, but 2 would land in the woods about 20 feet from the river, and the 3rd was found on the riverbank. Now, when these suitcases were found, to have had opened due to the fall, but the first 2 had various parts of human remains. The 3rd, however, had the head, 2 halves of an exposed torso, and a fetus in it. There was straw and packaging foam in the suitcases, as well as a bedspread that had been waterlogged and full of fragments from a newspaper that they believed was used to wrap the body parts with. This exact newspaper was the New York Sunday from September 26th of 1976. And it was that particular issue that was used, and this was linked to the northern area. It was then cross-referenced and linked to a northern area in New Jersey. The bedspread, they believe, was made out of chenille fabric that was a reddish orange that had been embroidered with a floral print on it in yellow and pink, which is very, very time appropriate. I mean, we're thinking back to the 70s here. Like 1976. It's very age appropriate. So it was determined that this victim was about 9 months pregnant at the time of her death. Her fetus was taken from her body. There was also signs that she was sexually assaulted, strangled, and then she was shot in the neck. This gunshot wound was determined to have happened post-mortem, and everything else was ante-mortem. Her body was dismembered with a serrated blade following her demise. Now, this dismemberment was described as not being like a surgical dismemberment, and it was extremely messy. So it was a hack job, basically. Her nose, breasts, and ears were all severed and have never been found since they found her body. Also, all the suitcases were spray painted black, and all of the handles were severed from the suitcases before the bodies were put in there. Now, after looking into them, the suitcases were said to be one with a tan plaid design, and the other 2 had a striped design made up of red, blue, and white. Now, as for them examining this body. Now, when she was examined, this woman was described as being a white female in her early 20s or teens. She was about 4'11" to 5'4" in height and about 140 pounds to 150 pounds. And she had shoulder-length, undyed brown hair. This Jane Doe would be called Beth Doe. That was until March 31st of 2021. Beth Doe remained without her identity until this day. On this fateful day, we learned that this Jane Doe was none other than 15-year-old Evelyn Cologne. Evelyn Cologne was murdered by 19-year-old Louis Sierra, of which he was arrested for her murder. Now, at the time of Evelyn's murder, the father of her child was in Jersey City, and also her parents had just moved Evelyn into an apartment with Louis Sierra. Louis Sierra was Evelyn's cousin. Now, one day, Evelyn said she didn't feel well, and she had asked her mom to bring her some soup. And when her mom arrived, this is when the neighbors told her that Evelyn moved away with Louis. January of 1977 came, and they would get a letter that was from Louis, stamped from Connecticut. In this letter, he tells that Evelyn gave birth to a boy and that they shouldn't worry because if Evelyn needed anything, they would then contact them. Her family didn't initially report her missing because according to her brother, Louis Cologne, they just thought she was safe. Now, after a few years, they attempted to file a missing persons report, but the police just outright refused to file one. And by the time of her identification, her parents, unfortunately, had already passed away.